Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to start on our notes for week 7. We are rapidly reaching the end of our class. As I told you at the beginning, 8 weeks moves far faster than you think it's going to. I realize you've got other things, you've got jobs and you've got families, but you're spending a lot of money to take this class, so let's give it the effort that it needs in order for you to do well. For those of you who are behind in your writing assignments, please get those into me by Sunday of this week. Assignment 1, 2, and 3 will only be accepted through Sunday of this week. Beyond that, I'm going to be busy working on looking at your final paper, and I probably won't have time to go back and look at any past weeks. But as I've stated here, one writing assignment is the equivalent of all of your discussion boards. So don't go back and work on those discussion boards. Work on the writing assignments and get them in. I am really shocked that I've only gotten 2 of the drafts in. I wasn't expecting perfect final papers turned in, but I was expecting you to turn them in so that I could make suggestions so that you could improve the quality of your writing assignment and your grade. In fact, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to change the grading scale for writing assignment number 4, and I'm going to include the draft as 5 points on the grade for the writing assignment number 4. All right, make sure that you do take time to read your lessons for week 7. It's really discouraging and makes me very angry when I look at your papers and there are errors, and those errors were things that were covered during that particular week. So please take the time to read it. You're paying a lot to take this class, and you're getting these lessons because they will make a difference to your employment. They will make you look better. Under the lessons for misspelled words, they left out one that I see a lot, and that is definite versus defiant. Defiant is when you're being nasty and you're fussing with your mom, whereas definite is when this is it and there are no other choices, we're not changing it. TOO is really easy if you just think about whiny little 2-year-olds. They just drag out that to forever. I want to come to. It means also. All right, your cartoons. This week on next week will be, I guess it's 2 weeks from now. March the 12th will be a career fair. So have a look at what's going to be posted, get your resume updated, and do get logged in. One of the things you might want to do if you haven't already, make sure you are talking to people in the career area to make sure that you're on the right track. I have a family member who I absolutely cannot believe he did this, but he got a 4-year degree, and he got it in police work, thinking that he could go and work for the FBI. The FBI does not hire people over a certain age, and this particular person, 60 years old, and there was no way he was ever going to get hired by the FBI. So don't waste your time in your career path if it's not something that you could actually do. So, let's say, do talk to them and do have a look at this. All right, on your paper, please make sure that you remember that even though this is a business paper, it is still a writing assignment for this class. So make sure you've got your cover page. Do make sure you've got page numbers. You want your business letter to the boss telling them this is what I'm planning on. This is what I'm doing. You requested this, and so here are my results. This should all be in the present tense, not in the I'm going to. You've already done it by the time you finish this paper. Your table of contents. there are different ways of doing the table of contents. Those of you in the military obviously will have your 1 and then your 1.1 and your 1.12 and such. But something that will help, if when you're in Microsoft Word, if you go to References, you'll see your table of contents here, and it will actually allow you options of different types of table of contents, and it will automatically format it for you with the right number of dots across and such. Okay. Oh, that's slow. All right, I'm not going to wait for that to come all the way up, but as I say, References, Table of Contents. And I'll come back to that at the end and see if it's finished. All right, so go ahead and get your table of contents together. Your appendix, if you did a survey, one of your appendix items should be your survey. If you want to, you could also have a copy of the survey results there. All right, you're then going to have your executive summary, which basically gives the overview. This is what I did. This is some of the results that I came up with. Here's what came out in primary research versus here's what came out in secondary research. And the findings and conclusions that we reached on this, just a quick version of it, and then some recommendations that we'll make. Following that, you've got your introduction. Now make sure you've got your little titles of the subsections, overview, findings, your management impact, so on and so forth. But make sure you go through and you've got all of the sections that are listed in here, your conclusion. And now this one's wrong on here. You don't ever want your conclusion sitting here at the bottom of the page and then the conclusion on the next page. Move that heading so that it's on the same page as the item. All right, and your recommendation, your references. Make sure you are looking at the the APA 7 version 7, and most of these are going to be DOIs and not this. And again, make sure you have journals, peer-reviewed journals as some of your 7 references. All right, and again, make sure that they are indented. All right, go back to Microsoft Word and, okay, it's not there. All right, folks, so that's that section. Let's have a look then at what we're doing in week 7 itself. All right, under week 7, it suggests that you do take some time to have a look at these lessons. Talks about the fact that writing is not a step 1, 2, 3. It is an iterative or a recursive process, meaning that you're going to go back and forth, constantly revising and getting your paper together. If you've got someone in your workplace who can look at your paper, that's a wonderful advantage because they're familiar with everything that's going on and can give you good suggestions. One of the reading assignments this week is important topics of how to deliver negative news. Do go and look at that. It offers some excellent suggestions. Some of the things like actually talking to a person one-on-one. But one of the things that I like to do after I've talked to the person is I send them a memo overviewing what we talked about. All right. At the end of week 7, you'll know about applying your writing style for audience. You'll know how to put together an executive summary, and you will identify some misused words in English. We'll look at the writing style. Under the section under writing style, it's got some really good things in here. It makes a comparison to you're going out to dinner, and you wouldn't go out to dinner with friends without taking a second guess at what it is that you would wear. What's your restaurant dress code? Are these business people? If you are going to work, going out to dinner, and your boss is going to be one of the people, you're probably going to dress a little better than you might if you were just going out with your co-workers. I always remember one time I was in an office, and a girl came in for to bring in a resume and hopefully get an interview. And she was wearing shorts, and they were a nice pair of shorts, great, her hair looked good and so on, but she didn't look the least bit professional. And in fact, the person at the front desk told her to go home and come back when she was wearing business clothing. Writing style, this is the same thing. We have to make sure that we are appropriate for the situation that we're writing. Formal versus informal. And keep in mind that the formal style is constantly changing over the bit. A lot of you like to use some of those old-fashioned words, per your instructions. Make sure that you are using appropriate language for today. Humor, be careful. One man's humor is another man's inappropriate in the business place. So make sure that you use humor very carefully. Jargon is the language of one particular field. If you're in a medical field and such, don't use that jargon unless the people who are reading your work are in the same field with you and will definitely understand it. Watch out for slang, poor grammar. If you turn something into your boss and you've got misspelled words in it, or you've got inappropriate words, it sticks. It just really makes them realize that you are not the person that they thought you were. So make sure that you get everything corrected before you turn it in. Writing in direct format versus indirect. Adding emphasis, you might want to add emphasis. Bullets, if you're using bullets, use bullets all of the time. Use the same type of bullet for all of them. Numbering, if you've got a 1, you have to have a 2. You don't have to have, if you have a 3, you don't have to have a 4. It doesn't have to be even numbers. But a list has to have at least 2 items. So do make sure you remember to follow through with that. Emphasis, fonts can make a difference. Adding bold and such make a difference. Active versus passive. Active tense is when you are the speaker and you're making, I am driving my car. That's active tense. The car was driven by me is passive. The subject is the receiver of the action. All right. Commonly confused words. Do take some time. Have a look at these. Make sure that you use them right. E.g. versus I.e. and how to do it correctly. When I look at I.T. apostrophe S, it's in my mind. It is. And have a look at other ones that are like that. But have a look at some of these that are the most common. Making errors. Don't rush getting your work done. Leave yourself time to go back and put your information in. One of the things that came up with one of the papers this week, someone was talking about they had a whole list of people that they wanted to do. And one of the things that you might want to do if you've got a whole list, go ahead and address it to the individual person, each letter to that individual person. And then at the bottom, you put CC. And what CC meant was carbon copy. Back in the old days before computers, you'd have someone who was typing the work, and they'd put carbon paper behind it so that they could make copies of it and turn it into other people. Obviously, that's old world, but we still use CC to mean this paper has also been sent to additional people. All right, there's another list of commonly confused words. Go ahead and take some time and look through there. If you have a look at my lesson from week 1, I've got a link within that that gives you some even more misspelled or commonly misused words. You also want to make sure the bad news versus the good news. What's the best way to do it? And this is excellent. It gives some really good lessons about how to give negative news, be clear, concise, help make sure that the receiver understands and accepts it, maintain trust and respect as you are giving this. Avoid liability. Don't say, I'm sorry such and such happened, if that then says that you are responsible for it, because you could end up being sued. So be careful. Maintain your relationships. Even, when you give someone bad news, the key to it is to make them feel at the end that you're doing what you're doing for their best interests. One of the things that is not here, but I used to talk about, is something called a positive sandwich. Paragraph 1 set up your situation with the person. We want to say, we've been long standing friends and so on and so forth. Paragraph 2, get down to business. Tell them what you want. And then paragraph 3, get that favorable view coming back in. All right, so go ahead and take some time and look at these. Some excellent lessons in here on how to get that negative news in. And, at the end, you want the person to feel glad that you have talked to them. But like I say, do take some time and go ahead and look at these lessons. The rest of these have to do with APA style. Do make sure you go in and look at APA style and review how you are doing it. All right, and again, those DOIs, look at those lessons that we did last week and on how to find a DOI. All right, folks,